Hello, we are live. We are live. Welcome, welcome. Let's double, triple check what's happening here. So, hi, welcome to this week's Everyday English lesson right here on English Outside the Box. So, if you are new, welcome. If you're a returning English Outside the Box student, welcome back. I already saw a couple of you in the comments. So, hi, welcome. Thanks for learning here with me this week. Just in case you're new and you don't know who I am or what I do, my name is Jennifer Nascimento, and I'm the teacher at English Outside the Box. What is outside the box? A lot of students ask. So English Outside the Box is online English education. I help you learn English. I connect you to outside of the box learning opportunities. So learning a little differently than you have before. A lot of students think, I want to learn a language, so I need to go to a school. Or I want to learn a language and I need to buy a textbook. No, 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 no. You're learning right here on YouTube. You can learn online, and that is what is amazing. So at English Outside the Box, I help English learners like you master, perfect, and use everyday English skills. So everyday English skills are English skills that you need to live comfortably, confidently, and successfully in your daily life in English. So that could be if you need English for your job or for work, if you want to just live and travel more comfortably, if you need to pass a TOEFL test to go to a university. So all of these skills, these everyday English skills, help you feel more comfortable and confident with English. I always want to know what your goals are. So if you have a goal with your English, tell me in the chat. Let me know in the chat, and I would love to talk about it. We have Brazil. I know we have Austria, Malaysia. Awesome here with me today. So, how can you learn vocabulary? Vocabulary. This is what we're talking about today, because obviously, if you need to speak English and use English, you need vocabulary, because vocabulary are the words that you know and the words that you use. So, how much vocabulary do you know? How much new vocabulary do you use? How much new vocabulary do you use? Are you the type of student? Are you the type of learner? Are you the type of English user that you feel you get stuck using the same vocabulary all the time? So perhaps you're frustrated because you feel like you never use new vocabulary. And that's a really common issue with language learners. Some of you may know that I also have studied and I also speak other languages. I studied Spanish in Spain. I lived in Spain. I used to speak a lot of Spanish. I studied Portuguese. I lived in Brazil, and I speak Portuguese now. And even as a language learner, I know that I get stuck kind of using the same language and the same expressions. And it's frustrating. It's absolutely frustrating. So I want to know, do you feel frustrated with vocabulary? Do you feel frustrated like you always use the same vocabulary? I'm going to be telling you a couple of things, a couple of ways that you can improve this. I also would love for you to share in the chat if you're watching live, or in the comments below this video if you're watching the replay, how you study vocabulary. So I'm going to be sharing my tips with you today, and you can share your tips in the chat or in the comments to help others as well. So this video can be a huge resource for vocabulary. Awesome. So Yeah, so some of the chats are saying, some people in the chat are saying they feel that way. Forget the words I want to say, not able to use these while you're speaking. So this is what we're going to do today. So I want to tell you how to learn vocabulary, how to remember it, and how to use new vocabulary every day. As you know, you are here on my YouTube channel. So on this YouTube channel, there are tons of videos. I want to say over 120, don't quote me. There are hundreds of videos on this YouTube channel. So you can review any of these videos and learn new vocabulary. Specifically, if you go onto my YouTube channel on the home page and you click on playlists, you can see a variety of different playlists that I've put together based on English topics or themes. I have a vocabulary playlist that you can review. So you are already here, you're already using my YouTube channel. So when we finish with this lesson, click on playlists and you can review some other videos. That's not all, and don't worry, that's not what the topic of today's lesson is. Additionally, because you're learning here with me, I hope you know, I hope you use, and if you don't, I hope you start, you can use my learning blog, my website. So my website has also hundreds of lessons because I have been creating blog lessons and English lessons on my website since 2014. I've been creating English lessons on my website since 2014. So you can imagine how many lessons are there. A lot, a lot, a lot. So I'm going to share with you some of the ways that you can use my blog to find some new vocabulary and learn. And don't worry, I'm going to be sharing another resource that's not just my website as well. So stick around. However, I'm going to share my screen with you so you can visually see what I am talking about. Then we'll get into the lesson, the other lesson resources. All right, guys, let's share this screen. I have 100,000 trillion screens open. Let's make sure it's the right one. And I don't think that was the right one, guys. Sorry. Let's see here, guys. Sorry. How to learn blog. Woo, there we go. All right. So this is my blog. You can see at the top, it's englishoutsidethebox.com/blog, B-L-O-G. A blog is this online log of information. So on this blog, on the home page of the blog, you are going to review all of the different lessons that I have. So I have recently, I've been doing 60-second Saturday English videos. So last Saturday, I did expressions with baby. You can review past everyday English lessons, and you can just review everything here. Right? But I know this can be a little overwhelming to review all of these information, all of these lessons. So if you specifically want to connect with English, I'm going to recommend that you go on the right-hand side here and you scroll down and you see this here. Are you looking for something particular? Search past posts. You can review all of these lessons here. And you can type in what you want to learn related to vocabulary. So let's say you want to learn idioms. You can type in idioms, hit enter, and then you are going to see all of the posts related to idioms. Music idioms in English, English expressions with town, idioms about sickness. And so you are going to find 15 idioms with feet, this cute little baby foot. So you are going to be able to find very specific English lessons related to idioms, for example. So you can use this search bar as well, I already pre-created some things. You can search for something I used to do called words of the weekend. So in the chat box, or not sorry, in the chat box, in the search box, type in words of the weekend, and you can review this common weekend post that I used to do. So independence and patriotism, narrow-minded and bigotry, words of the weekend, pack and rearrange. So it was 2 words, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, that I used to teach. So for example, let's go to pack and rearrange, because I right now am packing to move. So when you click on that, you are able to see this word being used in context. You see a question using the new vocabulary, and you see the definition and examples. In addition to idioms and words of the weekend, you can also just type in, down in this search box, vocabulary. If you type in vocabulary, you're going to see all of the posts that I did related to, you guessed it, vocabulary, right? 4 ways to improve vocabulary, shopping vocabulary, vocabulary lesson, October learning plan. This was 1 week, 7 days of vocabulary tasks and activities. So that is how you can use, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. That's how you can use my website and browse the hundreds of different lessons that are available. So as a review, you can go to englishoutsidethebox.com/blog and review all of the recent lessons, or you can review vocabulary, idioms, words of the weekend, or different posts that I used to do. That's how you can use my blog. But let's talk about a different resource. Let's talk about a different resource. All right. The resource that I'm going to talk about today is using online dictionaries or dictionary apps, word of the day. So every dictionary that I have ever seen online, any app that I've ever downloaded on my own phone, includes a daily feature called Word of the Day. How many of you watching live or watching the replay have utilized this dictionary feature? How many of you have used the Word of the Day feature? If you have used it, tell me how you have used it. Think about how you have used it. Now, today, I'm going to give you some of my tips and recommendations on how you can use the Word of the Day to practice. So there are hundreds and hundreds of different dictionaries, apps, websites, and things that you can use. Cambridge, Pearson Longman, Webster, Merriam-Webster, dictionary.com. There are tons of different ones, but I recommend my favorite English dictionary for you, for an English learner, is Merriam-Webster's Learner's Dictionary. So if you get the app, this is the green Merriam-Webster app, and this is the green kind of website. And Merriam-Webster's Learner's Dictionary is by far my favorite because it uses language that's so much easier to understand. Regular dictionaries often use complex definitions, and it's really sometimes hard to understand the definition of a regular dictionary. Sometimes my learners have told me they have to look up the words in a definition. So most likely you'll never need to do that with Learner's Dictionary from Merriam-Webster. Maybe it's important to tell you that this is not sponsored. I'm not being paid to talk about Merriam-Webster, so you can take my advice seriously, knowing that it's something I recommend from the bottom of my heart, knowing it's something incredibly useful. Knowing it is incredibly useful. Esteban says he uses word reference, so that's also a good one. Quora.com is a reference website. It's not my own. So the learner's dictionary and the word of the day. Let me quickly share my screen again with you to show you not only the website that I love, but what I mean by this word of the day. What I mean by this word of the day. I believe this is it here. Yep. Nope. Wrong one again, guys. Woo. Like I said, I have so many windows open. So let's find, yes, here we go, share. So on the screen right now, you should see Merriam-Webster's Learner's Dictionary. Merriam-Webster Learner's Dictionary. So you can see that it's learnersdictionary.com. Full of ads, full of all of this stuff. Ignore all of this. What you want to look for is here, this word of the day feature. So when you click on word of the day, boom, it's going to pull up today, June 13th, word of the day, which is herbivore. Is it herbivore with an H or herbivore? You can listen.
Herbivore.
Ah, all right. When you listen, you can also see the definition. You can review because it's a noun. You can review if it's a count noun or a non-count noun. And you can see some examples. You can also review the archive of previous selections. So you can look at June 12th, for example. What I love about this dictionary is that it includes a picture to kind of show you this girl is pleading with her father. So it shows a picture. It shows, again, the way to pronounce it. It shows the different tenses, the different structures. It shows the definitions, and it shows context, which is so important. It shows context, it shows examples, and it shows specific information. All right, so this is the Learner's Dictionary, and this is the Learner's Dictionary word of the day. Last week, I know a lot of you were here with me last week, and last week I taught you how to learn English more naturally. Specifically, I gave you 7 steps to learning. If you remember, I talked about hearing the information, reading the information, using the information, and applying the information. So it's very important that you follow these steps when you're learning new vocabulary and using this word of the day feature. So let's go into how can you remember vocabulary. So this is how you can use it. This is my recommendation on how you can use it. I've given you some resources on my own website, and I've given you this word of the day feature. So that's the first part of this video, how you can learn new vocabulary. Now, once you have this resource, once you have a new vocabulary word, how are you going to remember it? How are you going to remember to use it later? The most important thing here is you have to, you must, you need to, you must connect it to you. You must connect it to your life. You must find the relevance for you. If you don't find the relevance, if you don't discover or think about how you can use new language, how you can use this new vocabulary, then you probably won't remember it because it doesn't feel important. It doesn't feel useful for you. So you've gotta find a way that's making this word important to you. So we just looked at June 12th's word of the day, plead. The definition of plead is to ask something, ask for something in an emotional way or in a serious way. Almost like begging, please, please, I'm begging you, I'm pleading, asking for something emotionally and seriously. So this verb, plead, how is it going to be useful for you? How are you going to use it? How are you going to remember it for later? That's what's really important. That's what you want to think about. So you can look at some of the example sentences. So some of the example sentences were, maybe let me pop back on the screen here and show you. So you can, let's see how you can use it specifically. Okay, so when we look at this plead, here, she pleaded for forgiveness and got her job back. She pleaded for forgiveness and got her job back. So as you are reading this definition and as you're learning this vocabulary word and using this sentence, a way that you can connect it to your life and think about how you can connect it to your life is think about that example sentence. Have you ever pleaded for forgiveness for something? Have you ever pleaded to get a job back? Here, the second example, to try and prove a case in a court of law. So plead can be used in a court or related to law. Are you a lawyer? Are you in the law field? Are you studying to be in this field? If that's the case, then you know that you will definitely need to use plead, or that plead will be an important part of your use and your vocabulary. So, have you ever needed someone to change their mind? Have you ever pleaded with somebody or pleaded for something? So you want to ask yourself these questions using some of the example sentences to try to see if you can connect it to your own life. And I saw a question in the chat. How to connect vocabulary with lives? Could you give me some examples? So Sam Johnny had asked that question. Sam Johnny, I hope that I answered that right now. How can you connect it to your life? How can you find that it's useful for you? Is you want to look at some of the example sentences on the Word of the Day feature and think, have you ever done that? So again, to reiterate, there was the example sentence of, she pleaded for forgiveness and got her job back. Got her job back means that she lost her job. So she had to ask for something, her job, in an emotional and in a serious way. Have you ever had to do that? Have you ever had to plead for something, for your job? So think about the definition, think about the example questions, and ask yourself, have I done that? Have I needed to do that? And then you can find a way that you can use this new vocabulary word naturally. So Sam Johnny, let me know if that kind of answered your question. So again, the best way to remember vocabulary is to find the relevance in your own life. Find the relevance of how you can use it. So looking at the word, reviewing the definition, and reviewing example sentences is definitely important. It's really important to do this. But if you're learning about, Sarah pleading for her job back, maybe that doesn't connect with you. You don't see the relevance within you, so you're not likely to remember. When you connect it to your own life, when you think about how you can use it, then you are definitely more likely to remember. So find the relevance in your life. Think about the settings, think about the situations, think about the conversations that you have in English already. Do you use English at work? Do you use English with your friends? Do you use English in school? So think about how you are using English and think about where new vocabulary can fit in. Find the relevance, find the connection. So remember, absolutely important. For you to remember vocabulary, you have to start using it. Finding the connection, finding the relevance, and using it immediately. So I'm going to share with you 4 ways that you can start using new vocabulary every day. And I want this to be a little dictation practice. I want you to practice hearing this information and writing down what you hear me say. Remember, the full lesson notes for this video, all of the resources, all of the exercises, all of the tips are going to be on my website, on my blog, englishoutsidethebox.com/blog. So if you're visual, if you're kind of struggling, if it's hard for you to understand everything I'm saying, All of the information is going to be on my blog, so don't worry. This lesson, though, is all about listening skills and improving your ability to understand a native speaker. So I'm going to be sharing with you 4 ways that you can start using new vocabulary every single day, okay? We've already talked about how you can learn it. I gave my websites, my resources, and I gave my tip about the word of the day. So I taught you how to use it, how to learn, and I've taught you how to remember it. So how you can remember it is starting to use it, starting to think about the importance, and finding the relevance in your life. Not John's life, not Eric's life, not Paulo's life, finding the relevance in your life and connecting it to you. The final thing is you want to start using it every day. So here are 4 ways that you can start using new vocabulary every day. Remember, this is going to be a dictation practice, so I want you to get ready and type in the live chat what you hear me say. Type in the comments below this video what I say, or write in your own notebook what I'm saying. 4 ways that you can start using English every single day is 4 ways that you can start using everyday English are you can write and create new sentences, write and create discussion questions, write stories, and write sample dialogues. Okay, remember, I want you to listen to those and I want you to write down what you hear me say. Then I'm going to give some more details. But first, practicing your listening. The 4 ways that you can start using new vocabulary every day are writing and creating example sentences, writing and creating discussion questions, writing stories, and writing sample dialogues. What are dialogues? As I give you time to repeat that, what you heard me say, write down what you heard me say, I'm just going to have a peek in the chat to see if there's anything. Maria Beatrice Moraes, do you suggest talking? Do you suggest talking by ourselves to help to remember vocabulary? I'm going to get into that. Absolutely. But if I only learn these vocabulary, I have something relevant in my real life and I can't do my English exercises in school, can I deal with this thing? Trang, I'm not sure I understand your question. Luis Carlos de Souza, hello. As far as I can remember, I have only pled or pleaded, past participle, for forgiveness with my wife, my kids, and my parents when I had done something I shouldn't. Good example. It's difficult without backup. And alt, what do you mean without backup? What is difficult without backup? Elaborate on that idea. So as you're listening and hearing some of these examples, some of these ways to use vocabulary, to start using new vocabulary every day, let me elaborate. Let me give some more details about that. The first thing I said to do was create new sentences and create new examples. This, again, is connecting it to your life. Don't write random sentences about random people. You want to create sample sentences, sample examples relevant to you and finding that relevance. So there's 2 ways you can do that. If you find this really challenging, you can use the structure of the examples in the word of the day feature. But you can change the nouns and you can kind of change the objects, change the verbs, and make it relevant to you. So maybe you didn't need to plead for forgiveness to get your job back. Maybe you needed to plead for forgiveness with your wife, if you are Luis Carlos de Souza, right? That was his example, how he remembered needing to use plead. So you can use the structure of the word of the day, change it, alter it to your life, all right? Then that's one way. Or you can create entirely new sentences, entirely new structures relating it to you. But the point is you want to write your own sample sentences and examples to practice. So the first day, the first thing you can do is learn this new vocabulary and review it. On the next day, day 2, you can write some of your own sentence examples. That's using new vocabulary every day. Maybe on day 3, you want to do my second suggestion. You want to create discussion questions. Discussion questions are all about creating questions that start conversation, creating sentences that can and do start a conversation, a discussion. This is not yes or no questions. These are information questions. Who, what, where, when, why. So using the new vocabulary and creating a discussion question. Now, what can you do with these discussion questions? Well, you can read them out loud and you can answer them on your own. This is related to Maria Beatrice's question about, do I suggest talking to yourself using new vocabulary? Absolutely, 100% yes. If you do not have the opportunities to speak with someone in English, then absolutely talk to yourself. Because even though you're not actually having a conversation, when you speak aloud and when you say sentences out loud, you definitely are practicing using your voice, getting comfortable hearing yourself, and you're practicing pronunciation, you're practicing new language, etc. So when you create these discussion questions, you can read them and answer them alone out loud with yourself. Or you can use them with a friend or a family member. You can write them below this video to start a conversation. You can come in English Outside the Boxes Facebook group, type the question in there, promote and start a conversation. You can write it below the comments. You can use it with your English conversation partner. You can use it in your own Skype classes or real classrooms if you have a teacher, you do tutoring. So write these questions and then start using them in any way that you can with whomever that you're able to do it with, okay? So that's maybe day 3, creating these discussion questions. You can also do it on day 4. Find someone new to speak with. Use these sentence examples and use these discussion questions to speak, and to use, and to use. I mentioned writing stories. Use new vocabulary, use new language to write stories. This can be creative fiction, things that you just create, stories that you create, or they can be real stories about real things that happen to you and real life situations. Both are going to be great. When you write a fiction story, when you have to create this creative story, it is hopefully forcing you to think in English and kind of think about using language that you don't already, because you're creating this new fiction story. You're creating this fiction story and you're trying to use the vocabulary that you're learning. You can share this story with your friends or your teacher or your conversation partner, so you can definitely share this with someone else. All right, and then the final thing I said, another way, the final example I gave is create a sample dialogue. So this is going to connect with that step 2 of how can you remember vocabulary, thinking about connecting it to your personal life. In which situations, in what settings are you going to need to use this? So, Luis Carlos de Souza, he gave that personal example. So I'm going to use his example for everybody. He says, as far as I remember, I have only pled for forgiveness. Pled for forgiveness to my wife, my kids, and my parents when I've done something I shouldn't. So then think, what is something that you've done that you know you shouldn't have done and you needed to plead for forgiveness? Write a sample dialogue. So you're going to write me or you. I'm so sorry that I blank. The person you're talking to is going to say, oh, you shouldn't have done that because it was really bad. And then think about the situation, think about the dialogue, think about the conversation. How can you use this new vocabulary? How can you create a situation that you use it? Create that situation by creating that dialogue. Read the dialogue out loud, practice that dialogue out loud. So then in the future, when that situation happens or when that setting arises, then maybe you're going to be able to use and remember it in the future, right? If you've already studied it and you've already used it, you've already said it out loud and already thought about it, then it's much easier for you to remember to use it later. So as you can see from these suggestions, I recommend finding variety and using a variety of different things to practice using new vocabulary. This variety is going to help you to remember it later. So let's review as a quick lesson of today. Let's review what we've talked about. If you're just joining or just as a review of this video, I gave plenty of ways on my YouTube channel and my blog that you can learn new vocabulary. I also gave the word of the day feature on the Merriam-Webster Learner's Dictionary. So find that word of the day feature. Listen, click the microphone, and hear how it sounds. Read the definitions, read the sentence examples. That is how you can learn it. How can you remember it? You want to start using it and finding the relevance to you. Think about where you can use it in your daily life. Think about where you need it in the way that you use English now. How can you start using it every day? You can write sentence examples. You can write discussion questions, and you can write stories, and you can write sample dialogues. You can share all of this information here on this channel in the comments. Hopefully, somebody else will connect and practice with you. If I'm able to, I will respond and give you some feedback. You can go in our Facebook group and comment there. You can go in the comments section. So there's plenty of ways that you can also share these different things that you're creating. Share your examples, share your discussion questions, okay? Practice absolutely makes perfect. So you want to absolutely practice. So the live lesson, as I mentioned, this is all about listening comprehension. Listening to a native speaker talk, and I'm talking quite naturally, is great for your listening skills. However, if you are a learner that needs more visual guide and visual aid, then go over to my website right now and you can read this full lesson, all of the notes, the examples, the practice exercises. You can read all of that to get that extra support. You can go to EnglishOutsideTheBox.com and click on blog. And you can definitely review that. So I just want to pop in the chat really quickly to see if there's any lingering questions about vocabulary that we can answer to help support you and help support you learning vocabulary. So if you have a question and you're watching live, now is the time to type it. All right. So absolutely talk to yourself when you're learning new vocabulary. You want to get comfortable hearing your voice. You want to get comfortable using new vocabulary aloud. Trang, if I learn only vocabulary that I use every day, I think it's not enough for me to do my exercise in school. Well, you have to, there are so many different ways that you can learn vocabulary, and you have to think about your goal. So if you need to learn vocabulary for school, then maybe you won't use the word of the day feature. Maybe you'll use your materials in school. So I have given the word of the day for somebody that has no resources for English and needs any resource to improve their vocabulary. If you're in school, if you're studying something and you need English for school, then use the resources that you have to learn English and follow this same pattern. Learn the word from your English resources, from your class, from your material. Find the sentence examples, create your own, use discussion questions, write stories, follow the same steps, but maybe you don't have to use the word of the day. Maybe you can use your materials. Trang, I hope that answers your question. Do I intend to learn a new language? I have added Arabic and French to my desire, to my bucket list of learning language. What are the methods that you can think can help me learning new vocabulary? Trang, today I talked about many ways that you can use new vocabularies, and I talked about my method and my suggestions. All right. So which, same pronunciation, pronunciation of superstitious, superstitious. These are random questions that are not going to really be applicable to somebody watching the replay. So we're going to end the lesson here. So we've reviewed 20 tons of different ways to review vocabulary. So hopefully this lesson has helped you feel more comfortable and more confident in learning, remembering, and using more vocabulary. I have to tell you that there are plenty of other ways to learn with me. I've talked about different ways you can connect with other videos on my YouTube channel. I've shared with you my website and how you can connect with my other lessons. Remember, I also have the Phrasal Verb Conversation Club. This conversation club focuses on you learning, remembering, and using new phrasal verbs and English vocabulary and expressions. You can still join that club. You can join anytime and get access to all of the materials. Right now, we're learning 11 new phrasal verbs. We're learning how to use them, how they sound, how to connect them to your life. I connect you with a conversation partner for you to start using the language and speaking with a real person. We're having a group conversation call on Thursday. Next week, we're talking about pronunciation. And in 2 weeks, we're having another group conversation call to practice. So if you want any more information about this, you can definitely click the little I button on this video or go to my website to learn more. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I hope you enjoyed learning with me. Thanks for taking time and learning with me every week. I'm here every single Tuesday at the same time teaching you English live. Thanks for learning with me, and I hope that you have a fabulous Tuesday and week. Happy studying. Bye.